And welcome everyone to BTL. My name is RareAdam. Alongside me tonight is Sly. This is our first time here actually on Black Twitch League, and we're happy to bring you a best of 3 series here between Dryads and Hard Dr. Pepper. I'll be your color caster and host for tonight, RareAdam, as I said, and play-by-play for tonight will be Sly. So looking forward to this matchup here.
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, I don't have any hard Dr. Pepper tonight. I would like some. Sounds like a great opportunity to get super drunk and cast. Last time I got drunk and casted, it was with your boy Etoe, who, as you know, Adam owns BTL. So maybe if we get lucky, I'll get to enjoy some hard Dr. Peppers. But in the meantime, I can't wait to watch them play and see what they and Dryads end up doing for us tonight.
Yeah, we've got to see what they're going to pick up here. And by the looks of it thus far through the draft, got a couple of jungle bans already from Dryads there, looking to take that away from Bio by the looks of it. But on the flip side, a couple of more specific bans. The Zig's going to be banned away, as well as that Bard. No real power picks taken off the table here. Looks like Comfort is the name of the game thus far.
Yeah, so far Dryads has been targeting Bio 1, the jungler for Hard Dr. Pepper. He plays a lot of Rengar, Viego, and Lee. They take away the Lee and the Viego, leave up the Rengar. Clearly, they want him to pick into that. They probably have some sort of plan for dealing with it if it is selected. For Hard Dr. Pepper, Ziggs, Bard, and hovering Jace, but end up going for Fiora on red side ban, which is pretty interesting. But Lucian gets locked in first pick on blue side for Dryads. What do you think of that pick?
I think that the Lucian first pick is definitely a very specific style of gameplay in a way. You're picking that for some sort of bot lane combo. With the Annie picked up, though, it's going to really prevent Lucian from wanting to go into that mid lane because Annie outranges that Lucian so hard.
Right, and the point and click makes it really difficult to dash around to get into the trades. If you try an EN for a trade, you end up getting point and click Q stunned into a W auto, and she walks away with her E speed boost. So it's very difficult to trade into the Lucian. So TK ends up being picked up here for Hard Dr. Pepper. I don't see very many TKs being played in the bot lane anymore, so I'm pretty confident we can say that's going to be a blind top pick for Hard Dr. Pepper. So far, both solo lanes getting picked up most likely for Hard Dr. Pepper with R1, R2. Not something you see very often, Adam.
Yeah, I think that especially with the solo lanes already drafted away, maybe they just want to get sort of their OP picks out of the way. They want to get that Tom Kench, who is really strong in that top lane in the right hands, but Syndra going to come through as the answer to the Annie. So thus far, a little bit of interesting drafting from both sides, just sort of picking what they want first, as opposed to kind of strategically picking them out. At least that's what it looks like from here.
Compositionally, for sure. I don't see any obvious compositional ideas coming from either team. I will say, just as you mentioned, with the Annie being a counterpick to the Lucian, Syndra likewise outranges Annie, able to do a lot of harassment and all-in potential.
Ooh.
The Zed comes in as a counterpick to the Syndra, so it looks like Annie may either be a support or this may be an ADC Annie, which I have never seen. But I can't imagine that Zed. Well, Zed could be in the jungle, I guess, with the Zed buffs. So I take that back. So it's possible that Zed is going to end up in the jungle, but in theory, they may make the Annie go and match the Lucian in the bot lane, which would be very interesting.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of questions still yet to be answered here. The Trundle is getting banned away, which may mean that this Zed is going to the jungle. Trundle, notorious for sort of just stealing all of Zed's stats and preventing him from doing much. But the Blitzcrank, of course, picked away from the Soraka. She has been the topic of some recent buffs as well, because her ult now removes grievous wounds. The one thing that you would use to counter that champion is now sort of what she's built or she's meant to do, remove those.
Right, and being able to just to comment on the draft, just to go back. So Soraka was picked by Dryads, and they end up banning Blitz and Thresh as well to remove some of those hook champions. We'll see R4 support almost 100%. I can't imagine them unless there's some sort of other plan. Yeah. So Nautilus ends up, they ban 2 hook champions, get another hook champion picked up, and now for your draft right now, Hard Dr. Pepper, all of their utility is going to be coming out of Annie and Nautilus, which honestly, although there isn't a ton of natural synergy there, there's certainly Nautilus ults into Annie ults or vice versa. Very nice wombo for a relatively small AoE stun CC chain, which could be very nice for Hard Dr. Pepper.
And by the looks of it, with the Aatrox getting locked in here, they're going to opt to try and bully out this Tahm Kench in lane. Aatrox, of course, with a lot of healing, but is sort of gated by the fact that Tahm Kench will buy that 800 gold item called Bramble Vest and really start to put the hurt on in that lane. I'm interested to see where this Annie goes because there's still a couple of possibilities. If they're waiting for that bot lane lock-in, it could just be that Lucian Soraka bot lane and you're holding out for counterpick that you already know, but we'll have to see what Dryads opt to go for here. It's going to... looks like it's going to be the Vi. At least that's the hover for now. Interesting pickup if that is into the Zed jungle or if it is another jungler that's coming through here. And by the looks of it, it is Zed jungle.
Right, and that makes sense. It got buffed. I haven't seen it particularly a lot. I know that I've had a lot of people tell me it's strong and they really like it. The clear is very effective. Obviously, his gank setup is minimal. The only CC he has is a slow on his E, so definitely has some gap close and decent dueling early on. Not great, not bad, but it doesn't matter. The capacity to flex Zed is very nice and it makes him a lot more viable as Yone is going to get picked up in the bot lane. Kind of a little bit of a flex. I assume that. Well, I guess we still don't know, right, Adam? We don't know if Yone is going to be going mid. We don't know if he's going to be playing ADC, but presumptively after all of the hovers. Okay, I want to make sure that wasn't a change of the champion. But all the hovers, we're gonna likely see Yone in the bottom lane. So Yone versus Lucian matchup with Soraka and Nautilus in the bottom lane should be very volatile to say the least down there.
Yeah, I'm confused because it's definitely something out of the ordinary from both of these teams. The fact that we have what could either be an Annie or a Yone in that bot lane. So the side of Hard Dr. Pepper drafting sort of to their own style. They want to be as comfortable as possible, and by the looks of it, they're definitely drafting that for themselves. It should be interesting to see what goes on in terms of in-game, and what are we expecting in terms of lane priority here?
Lane priority for mid lane is going to be all Syndra. Syndra, especially if she elects to do something that was popularized with Syndra by LS, was the future market tech, as they call it, which allows her to get a pretty early lost chapter, which gives her a lot of mana sustain. And I mean, that is the only inhibitor to her entire kit, is disabling her ability to spam and poke and push the wave. So the fact that she's going to be outranging Annie. Annie's wave clear, not that great. She's pretty assuming that it's Annie still mid. Even if it is Yone, it doesn't really change whether or not she'll have priority. Annie not able to really clear nearly as fast. She only has one AoE skill. Usually you're wanting the last hit with the Q anyways, so because it gets a reset on the mana and the damage. So in general, Syndra should be able to get priority anytime she wants in the bot lane. Certainly priority over to a Nautilus lane versus a Soraka. A lot of wave management and positioning will be really important in that lane. And assuming that it is Yone, it's difficult. You can hard shove the Yone Nautilus in. If you create a long lane, it can be dangerous. Just kind of depends on the skills of the players to make sure that they're not putting themselves in a position to be able to get hooked and all in by the Nautilus Yone. But it's possible that Soraka is able early on to establish some priority. Just the fact that she's range and do a melee support, as well as the Q poke and sustain, allows her to do a lot of damage. It's really easy to underestimate Soraka's ability to trade early on, just because of how much healing and sustain she gets, as well as the slow and damage that she gets off of her Q. Lucian also should trade really nicely into the Yone in general. It's not a bad matchup for him. That one could go either way. As far as top lane's concerned, you talked about Aatrox being a pick for lane. I'm not super familiar with the Aatrox TK lane, but I imagine that Aatrox's ability to properly space against the TK will enable him to get a lot of Q trades that are difficult for TK to trade back into, especially with the minion wave, because most of TK's kit requires him to either get some autos in to proc his passive, or to hit that Q, for which it can be blocked by minions. So as long as you're staying within the minion wave, it makes it very hard to land that. As far as Vi and Zed are concerned, I mean, this is obviously Zed. You talked about this. Zed is just very new to the jungle. I don't know that matchup's been explored. I don't play Vi. I certainly don't play Zed jungle. But I would imagine that it doesn't really matter who wins the duel, because I think for the most part, Dryads have three lanes that can have priority if they need it. So I don't see how Bios is going to want to be taking too many risky duels early on until he has some sort of priority in some of these lanes. Adam, what do you think about the win conditions for each team? What do you think is required for each team to win the game?
I think a lot of the win condition, at least for the side of Dryads here, comes just from the amount of damage that they have over time. You know, Aatrox's very good at those extended fights once he can stack up that Conqueror. Lucian, kind of seen as a little bit of a burst champion, but should be having an okay time in this bot lane against the Yone Nautilus. You have the dash to get away from any dredge lines, and Yone, if he goes in onto a Soraka, can sort of get stuck in the spirit form, you know, when he's separated. So we'll have to keep our eye on how Arthur and Pixelwolf want to play out this lane. But as you said, in the mid lane, this Syndra should be feeling pretty good against the Annie. I don't know if it's necessarily a one lane just based off of draft, but on the flip side, for the side of Hard Dr. Pepper, we've got to keep our eye on how this Yone, this Annie, and this Zed are able to play the early to mid game, because if they fall behind, a Zed from behind is very difficult to execute, especially once you get a lot of heals coming through on Soraka, especially when Aatrox gets to a couple items. Even the Syndra, once she gets that hourglass, it's going to be hard for the Zed to shut her down. So we need to see Bio really accelerating the pace of this game to make sure that he stays relevant.
Right, and I briefly disconnected there. I apologize. I'm not sure what happened there in Discord, but I can't imagine. I really thought it was an interesting draft too. You talked a little bit about the single target damage for both teams. There's a little bit of more of an AOE for Hard Dr. Pepper, as far as the Annie and Nautilus, as I already mentioned, as well as Yone Ultimate. But for Dryads, I feel like it's largely. I mean, they have Vialt single target. Aatrox, most of his knockups are essentially single target because of how small of a radius they are. Lucian, his ultimate usually only hits one target at a time. Syndra is really trying to burst one champion down. Obviously, the long range E allows her to CC multiple targets in a decently wide area. But for the most part, Dryads feel like they have a lot of skirmishing potential with, as you said, a massive amount of healing. I can't imagine heal cut isn't going to be built here by Hard Dr. Pepper, but that really should enable them to find picks. They want to play for picks. They want to play for short skirmishes. They want to play in awkward, vision control type of fights where fights are not really being fought over major objectives, but instead are being fought over vision or some sort of small area or picks and things of that nature. Whereas I think that Hard Dr. Pepper's identity is a little bit more looking to try and get 3, 4, 2 targets in one of these Annie ults or Yone ults or even a Nautilus knockup, and then burst them down with some of those different tools. Maybe even a CC chain. I personally like the Hard Dr. Pepper comp more as far as a team fight identity, but I do think that the lane phase would probably go to Dryad. So it kind of is going to depend on how this first 8 to 12 minutes of the game goes, whether Dryads can establish some sort of tempo, putting pressure, getting objectives, getting towers, maybe getting Herald even. Herald would be huge, be able to open up the middle of the map, disable Annie from being able to move around the map, and enable Syndra to be able to go and apply pressure down to this Yone Nautilus lane, which I think could be pretty easily dove with a Vi Syndra 4-man. I think it's very difficult to stop the dive with Zed. Maybe Nautilus can with the knockup disengage, but if that is down, I don't see how they don't get dove. So again, like we said, it's a very interesting draft, peculiar draft. I think it's pretty indicative of the new meta with the Zed coming in and being actually viable, like genuinely viable in the jungle too. So and we'll look real quick. Bio does have 140,000 mastery points as I'm loading it. I'm not sure where the stream is at. But and I'm probably actually behind you.
We're gonna take a quick break here while we get our game set up, and when we're back, we're gonna be onto the Rift with Dryads versus Hard Dr. Pepper. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome in, guys, to the Rift for BTL. We have Dryads versus Hard Dr. Pepper. Looks like a pretty standard opening for both sides. Maybe a little strange that Bad with a P is going to be walking over here with Yanni, but it's pretty standard 5-point. No real serious aggression here. I really like Pixel, or I think it is Pixel's ward. She throws a ward down in this bot tri-bush to, instead of standing in the bush because of the threat of the invade. Very smart play. Some teams do that just to prevent them from getting invaded on. You still have vision of that potential invade without having to actually put yourself at risk.
Yeah,
By
looks.
looking like she's going to come down here and to start over at a red. So what do you think of these early potential jungle pathings for each side?
I'm not too surprised. Zed generally likes to take advantage of those. His really fast clear. The main thing that changed was his passive just it does twice the damage to monsters, and it will consistently proc over and over again. There's no cooldown, so once he gets any monster below half HP, he can just clear that out really quickly. Starting on the top side means that he'll have that red buff and potentially punish this Soraka Lucian lane early on. But looking at that bot side, there is a little bit of a cheese play down bot.
Yeah, that ward's going to spot them out. Looks like Pixel and Artho will know and be able to avoid any sort of cheese there.
Yeah. Oh, yep. I'm gonna spot that out, but yeah, both junglers starting on their red buffs. Really curious to see if the Zed will maybe make an early gank top side, or if maybe mid lane's that option as well. We were talking in draft about how this Syndra, if she doesn't have her stopwatch, has a little bit more trouble against the likes of the Zed, and went for the Airy this time around. So no phase rush. Really interesting to see that come through from Tanner.
Yeah, and another thing to mention too, I don't know what's standard for, speaking of runes. I don't know what's standard, but bio is going electrocute, which, yeah, maybe that makes sense. I would think with any sort of extended trade on Zed, you're going to definitely want
Ooh.
Conqueror, especially into the Vi. It makes it interesting. I mean, Hail of Blades is going to be picked up here for Burst Phantom, so I'm curious to see how each side is going to. Though I really want to see how those two are going to end up trading if they end up running into each other. Obviously, we have opposite ends of the jungle that we're starting on, so maybe we won't see that for a while. But I'm curious how that plays out.
I think that but first of all, Bio actually had to take an extra camp to get level 3 there because Syndra stole a couple of those small raptors away. Really well played from Tanner, but just this top side right now, you can see the power of this Aatrox into the Tom Kench. Doesn't really have the range advantage here because of those Q stacks you were talking about, but man, they are bullying Bio all over his jungle here.
Right, and it's probably, I suspect, being, well, first of all, they had great tracking, right? That ward over on chickens really gave them an opportunity to get an idea of where he's going to be and when. And also, Artho and Pixel able to establish priority since there's a little bit of a fight going on down here. Yone ends up getting a nice little dash and knock up onto Pixel. Lucian's going to have to flash out to avoid a double Q from Bio Zed, and getting a little bit of Summoner's Exhaust and Flash burn for Pixel, and a Flash being burnt by Burst Phantom over the Dragon Wall during that as well. A little bit of a big fight here in the top lane too. A lot of damage coming out from Yucca onto Zombie Man, who is being forced under tower with a pretty big wave. The hook's going to land here in the bottom lane. Bad with the P. Going to get a little bit of damage. Trading back. Artho with the Taraka Q is going to heal him up. And the heal going over onto Pixel Wolf will enable that passive healing from the Q to go onto both Arthos, Soraka, and Pixel Wolf solution. A little bit of early skirmish here on the bot side. I think it was a little strange to me that Burst Phantom decided to go down and contest the bot crap, but I guess that was just all part of the plan with their tracking on bios whenever he got the blue buff, right?
Yeah, I think that it was a little bit of an expected play, but overall, just in terms of CS right now, it is going in favor of the side of Dryads. They've got a little bit of that advantage in the mid lane, about 10 CS, as well as up on the top side. However, that wave is crashing. Really curious to see if they can punish any of these plays, but up on the top side, Bio's here.
Yeah, and Yucca is in a little bit of trouble here. He's going to try and go for the all-in on Zombie Man, see if he can get this kill pickup in exchange, but well, or not. I guess that there's just not enough, as we talked about. Bio doesn't have any CC on Zed. He's not going to be able to run down Yucca, and Yucca scares off Zombie Man and just walks out free. I thought Yucca was dead to rights there with how far up he was, but looks like Bios just doesn't think that he has the capacity to take him down and lets him go run back to the tower and get a reset in.
Yeah, just not enough damage on either side there to clean anything up, but you can see the backs coming through as well. Syndra getting a really good back, being able to teleport back to that lane to keep the pressure on Impulse. Impulse has the Ignite, so going to have a little bit of a tougher time getting out of this lane to get that back, and with the Nautilus roaming up here, Syndra's going to be relatively safe, level 6 as well, so really good point in this mid lane, but bot side as well, the Yone's starting to extend quite the CS advantage.
3 people coming over, Hex Flash being used, a little bit of a threat. Tanner not too concerned, but he doesn't know that Bio is here as well with that pink ward in the top pixel bush. Little bit of a good chunk here onto Impulse, who's going to flash away the second Q, which I'm not sure if that was lethal, but maybe it was. The Q into the ultimate, of course. And so now Impulse is going to be flashless. By the way, Impulse chose to go with Ignite. Okay, I'm not sure if that was an intentional anti-ult, but I'm suspecting it wasn't. Impulse burns ultimate there to clear the wave. Does not. What I was going to say though is that he doesn't have teleport to match Tanner. He has Ignite. So and so far kind of getting bullied. I don't know if that was the play for Impulse, which down 23 CS here at 7 minutes. I think that he's going to get punished a little bit for that.
And by the looks of it, it's still just a rough lane there for this Annie. She's down almost 20 or more than 20 CS now. And even in the bot side, they were able to clean up most of that wave and even it out. Want to point out the Executioner's calling on this Yone picked up very early just for this Soraka. And we were talking about how her ultimate removes those grievous wounds, but just naturally going to be very useful to stop her from not only healing up the Lucian more, but healing herself up with that Star Caller, as you said.
There's just so much healing on the side of Dryads that it makes total sense that getting a little bit of extra heal cut every little bit is going to be really relevant in this game.
And taking a look at the gold lead right now, it's only about an 800 gold lead for the side of Dryads as it stands. Once again through those CS advantages, but bot side, big engage.
Hook coming out here from Bad with a P ends up getting Pixel Wolf locked down, and that's going to be first blood going over to Bio, who's patiently waiting over on the pink in the river. A very, very nice Hex Flash hook by Bad with the P, and pretty difficult there to get away from that without having Flash, having it burnt earlier in that river skirmish on bot side, and ends up being a kill. For me, I have on my spectator that has 2 kills.
Oh my god! You got the spectator mug. You got the.
Yeah, I've
the
got
double
a really
spectator
severe
mug.
one. Like this one's really bad. I've never seen it this bad. I know that some of the animations were messed up, but I don't know why there's 2 kills. Yeah, thank you, Adam.
Yeah, I'll stream it to Discord there. But for the time being, it is Infernal Dragon picked up by the side of Hard Dr. Pepper, and all things considered, it is a pretty good game state, not only for them picking up that Infernal Dragon, but also for the Zed, able to get that early serrated Dirk as well as those Ionian Boots of Lucidity. Oh my goodness. Up on the top side, though.
Right here on the top side. Burst Phantom has no right to be trying to take that ward out, and ends up costing his life. Did I miss? Was Harold taken? Yeah, so Harold was taken there, able to get it. Very nicely done being able to get it, but I don't know that that's worth. You had 4 people, Bad with a P, able to be on a roam timer up there. You obviously didn't have priority in the mid lane, so ends up costing his life about 450 gold in exchange for Harold, which should be worth about 320 with the plates. So depending on how many plates you can get, it ends up being an even trade, but I'm not sure if that's worth per se, especially with the tempo that Vi should want to be exerting here in the early game.
And just got to keep an eye on how they're going to continue to exert this pressure around this Zed jungle. Very volatile pick, I dare say. We were saying that if this Zed falls behind, it's so pointless to have it in the mid game because everyone's going to be just too tanky, but thus far is ahead of the curve just a little bit. 2-0 and 0 has both of the kills for his side, and Yone has also been able to take part in both of those kills. Looks like a little bit of an aggressive play on this bot side, though.
Pixel going to be able to dodge the hook there as Impulse comes in. They have full awareness. The ultimate coming out, Assault and Battery going in on Impulse, who is not going to be able to get taken down by Burst Phantom, ends up going down. TP's coming in from both sides. Yucca getting a multi-man
Ooh.
knockup, but it's not going to be enough. Artho's going down immediately. Yucca is getting Culling coming out as
Oh.
well, trying to protect Yucca, but he's going down as well. And they're still looking to try and potentially die this with this double stacked wave. I think Pixel's going to have to leave, and this may end up being first tower with a 5-man rotation by Hard Dr. Pepper, really putting the liquor as their mixer comes in smoothly there.
Yeah, they're really putting the hard in both their Dr. Pepper and their play. Really good teleport down from Zombie there to be able to kind of get a little bit of an engage off onto the backline, forced both of the summoners out from Pixel Wolf, and Artho not yet level 6, which really ended up causing the price. But in the mid lane, the Syndra did not rotate down, was able to pick up all of those plates, and it should be first tower going over to the side of Dryads. So despite them being down 5 kills, they're still even in gold because of that first tower.
Burst Phantom runs straight over there to drop that Herald down. Pretty heads up play to try and make up some of the gold deficit. And now look at the gold lead and gold differential, Adam.
Yeah, its goal differential it's just dead even right now between both of these teams, and got to keep an eye on how the difference between the two junglers are, because that's a full Yomu's Ghostblade complete on the Zed. Recently got buffed to give ability haste again, so a lot of assassins, a lot of bruisers even have been rushing it first item. Now Yucca in some trouble.
Again, this gank coming out onto Yucca, who gets ulted by Bio on the Zed. Going to end up getting popped there. Bio now 4-0-1. So you talked about how important it was for Bio to be able to get ahead in this game, and so far it looks like he's doing a pretty darn good job of it.
Yeah, just been able to roam around this map so effectively. 83% kill participation. This is the sort of gameplay you want to see out of these assassin junglers. You need to get that snowball rolling because, as we were saying, if you go even, the Vi will be able to get tanky enough. The Syndra's going to end up getting a Zonya's, and you won't be too happy. But despite that, still in the mid. Oh my goodness, they're going in.
Impulse flash ult, and it's all over. Burst Phantom going to get hooked up under tower. I don't think that they're going to commit to anything crazy, although Artho may be in a little bit of trouble. Yone queuing over the wall, ends up getting the exhaust down, the knockup coming from Nautilus as well, the slows from everything coming down, and it looks like Ba with the Ba is going to pick it up. Ba with the Ba. That is...
I think it's bad with AWP.
I just said a song from a really bad 90s rock band. I just don't know where that came from mentally. It's definitely bad with a P. I don't know why I said Ba with the Ba. Pixel getting ulted here. Yeah, not a chance, Pixel. You can't be up that far with this Fed. Zed running around. He's going to take you to the Shadow Neverland, and bye-bye. Looks like tower may end up going down in the bot lane from Pixel's death.
They're going to try and, oh my goodness, the gobble up on the top side. What's going to happen here?
Yucca's getting punished here. He pops the ultimate, going to get a little bit of lifesteal and size and speed. The Q's coming out, so Rocket Heal as well. Not going to be able to take the kill there in the trade back. Impulse may be in a little bit of trouble without this tier 1 as Flash comes out for Burst Phantom to secure it. Dragon ends up being taken there. Meanwhile, by Bio, and small lead here for Dr. Pepper, Hard Dr. Pepper. Dragon coming out now, a 2-dragon lead, 8 kills, but it feels like they should be up a lot more than they actually are, and I guess that's just the CS deficit, right?
It must be the CS difference here, because looking at the gold here, Annie's actually down about 1,100 gold by virtue of that first tower and the CS difference. Up on the top side, this Aatrox as well is up 600 gold, but look at the other members here. Yone is up almost 2,000 gold. The Zed is up 1,200 gold as well, so really that's where your gold is sitting, but Bio going to be in some trouble here.
Very awkward play by Dryads as unexpectedly Bio chooses to use the blast plan as they try to commit. Luckily, they have Soraka there to throw the silence field and disable Bio from being able to use his W shadows to run away. Ends up getting bursted down there, and a very nice little pickup of a huge shutdown. I didn't see which member picked it up. Did you see, Adam?
Looks like it was Vi who actually picked that up. So she's sitting at 2-2-0. Has that completed Divine Sunder as well. So shouldn't be feeling too bad about herself here. Overall, we've just got to keep our eye on what is going to develop as we get into this mid game, because despite this skill advantage, it's still a lot closer than we want to see, especially with this Zed jungle who, I mean, I keep beating it down, but it is so important that the Zed gets ahead and is able to snowball that lead. You know, you give up a couple too many shutdown kills and all of a sudden you're not as useful as you thought you were.
It's interesting because he is very very strong right now, right? And so is Yone. A lot of the gold for really the whole lead for Hard Dr. Pepper is between those two champions, and so far they're piloting correctly. It just doesn't seem like they're getting as much done, and maybe it is just these Dryad bush setups as they get engaged here. Ba with a P. Bad with a P. I don't think knew that they were all there. As a little bit of a fight comes out, Bio's going in pretty deep, trying to make a pick. Zombie Man going to pick up on Burst Phantom, who dove in at the outside of the fight. Yucca kind of zoning off onto the side. It looks like this fight may not continue as the Eve is going to deny an eye from coming in there to try and get some knockups with the Yone Q knockup. And this Herald is going to get started here for the side of Hard Dr. Pepper. And without very much vision on that side, I don't know if there's anything that Dryads can do about it.
Yeah, they're going to have to give up that second Rift Herald. And as we said, got to be careful about the snowball. But I just realized this Yone here, 3-0-5 up 30 CS, is feeling really good about this game as well, has already completed that shield bow. And as we know, Yone is going to get that extra crit chance. So only needs those 2 crit items, and I think it might be the Mortal Reminder coming through next. So really going to be putting the hurt down onto the Soraka.
With Dragon coming up in a minute and a half, you have Herald, you have a little bit of a fight priority. I will say Hard Dr. Pepper, all their pinks are on top side of the map, not around Dragon, which is definitely going to be when the next fight is, assuming that it's contested by well, and it may not be by Dryads, but I would like to have seen a little more vision set up there in the bot side after that one fight on the top side. But what I was going to say is that I just didn't realize this whenever we were going through draft, but there's a lot of dyssynergy between Lucian, who's a hard lane stomping early game. Artho here in trouble before I continue. Bio's trying to do as much as he can. Burst Phantom's going to go in, get the knockup, but it's not going to really matter with Bios having the ability to go back to his shadow. Tanner is in a huge trouble here as the Yone ult's going to come out. Pop goes the Weasel and I going to pick up that kill here about 45 seconds before Dragon. Going to be very difficult now for Dryads to contest that objective.
Going to be a little bit tough because this is going to be soul point for them. 30 seconds until the side of Hard Dr. Pepper could pick up that Mountain Soul point. And as they got that tower under their belt, you can see the gold starting to go more into their favor. They still have that Rift Herald to use, and it's up about 3,000 gold. Always learn to never do math on stream because it's very difficult sometimes, especially doing addition because, some of us didn't pass grade 3 math. Regardless, we'll have to keep our eye on this Yone because he is very fed at this stage. The Zed as well has the potential to pop someone, and the teleports are going to come through for the soul point. Going to be a big 5v5 here, Sly.
Everybody coming around. It looks like they're going to play a little bit of a dance here in the Dragon Pit. Zombie Man looking for poke. Yucca looking for poke. A little bit of a nice knock up there and some damage coming out. Bad with a P is going to try and use the disengage ultimate while this Dragon is going to be secured by Bio. Culling coming out, trying to contest. Huge knock up there by Yucca. Big damage. Bio's on the back line looking for Artho back there. Meanwhile, Yucca is going in on an eye, trying to prevent him from being able to be in the fight. Yucca is going to get ulted by Zombie Man, spit out. Zombie Man is going to cost his life, but it's going to prevent Bio from going down. And, you got the Dragon, lost a couple of members, not the worst, although the Burst is trying to make sure that this fight isn't over. And I'm missing the Q. A huge knock up there onto Yanni, getting knocked around, tries to hop out, hops back in with his spirit. Bad with the P, gets poked down by the Syndra Q, and not really able to take him down with those orbs. Bio and bad with the P, very low. The stun just barely missing. Burst Phantom trying to wait for Yucca to bring this wave, and now I think bad with a P might be doomed. He's trying to hook anything to try and stay alive. This is going to be his demise. Towers also going down. Pretty big play there by Dryads, who, although they aren't able to pick up the Dragon, and it's now on Dragon Point. Ooh, and oh my god, this fight will not end. Artho going close to being taken down, just barely survives, doesn't go down to the Ludens from the Tibbers there. Tibbers being thrown away. Yucca going down. Pixel may be in trouble here too as he gets picked up double kill over there for Bio. That was a long sequence of events as Tibbers tries to chase down Artho. Goodness gracious, that was a fight that almost never ended.
Yeah, very close fight, but at the end of the day, we have to look at the objectives that were taken. There was a top tower that went to the side of Dryads. There was a bot tower that went to the side of Dryads. And while they end up going relatively even on those kills, they also pick up that dragon. So even though the gold is closer than it looks, you have to keep in mind that now the side of Dryads are going to be under pressure to pick up every dragon, lest they give over that soul to Hard Dr. Pepper.
And again, all of the damage, or excuse me, all the gold is on the two big damage threats for Hard Dr. Pepper, Bio, and Yanni, who have a pretty substantial lead here as far as both items and kills. Just base stats are concerned, even with concerning levels. 2-level lead here for Yanni over Pixel Wolf, and really a slight lead over for Bio, 1 level over onto Burst Phantom, which. Again, base stats pretty invaluable for assassins as every amount of damage matters. But so far, pretty crazy volatile and very close game so far.
It is a close game, and I think that it is of utmost importance to keep in mind what the win conditions are that we talked about from the top. We said the Syndra has to get to a point where she is able to survive the Zed. She is not at that point yet, albeit she does have a stopwatch. The Aatrox is a little bit tanky, but not as tanky as we'd like to see. And this Yone and Zed have so much damage in their back pocket that on the opposite side, they're going to have to be as careful as possible. I also want to point out, Soraka opted for the Locket. There is so much burst that she doesn't think that Moonstone will get enough value.
That makes sense. You need the instant proc Locket as well with all of the Annie ult and Yone ult. Makes sense to me, but I thought it was interesting. Bios just sat in that entrance bush on the top side of mid river for a good 45 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, just waiting to see if there was going to be any vision placed down by a solo Artho or even by Burst Phantom trying to scan out vision over towards Baron. Not able to pick anything up. Maybe a little bit of a waste of time there as Burst Phantom's able to get back within striking distance of that CS difference that had accrued a little bit by Bios. Now a minute from Dragon, and hopefully we're going to see another big fight here down in the Spotside River.
I'm going to have to keep our eye on where exactly these two teams are going to kind of make their mark, because as you said, 45 seconds until that soul is going to come through. You give a Mountain Soul over to the likes of that Tom Kench and that Nautilus, they will not die very easily. And on top of the fact that now Bio and Yone are going to have even or at least Yone is going to have a bigger shield to worry about as he starts to work towards that Guardian Angel. So I think it is very important for them to get a solid fight here. And if they don't, they will get punished for that. So we've got to keep our eye on this. It's intense, this game. It feels a lot closer than it should be considering the kill count and the dragon count, but Dryads have not gone. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I saw that one coming for a while. Burst definitely didn't have the damage right, only in the Ludens, but still Burst Phantom going down under half. I guess with the Soraka, maybe that's not huge hook coming down on Burst Phantom, who major fight here. Culling trying to go out on Bios on the back line, on the front line. You have Zombie Man trying to take down Yucca. Woo! Pixel able to pick up Bio on the backside, and I can't believe that fight went over so nicely. It was such a bizarre fight. Bio diving deep into the backline. Meanwhile, frontline just doesn't have any real damage because Yanni also is diving, trying to look for things. So really the front line of Hard Dr. Pepper didn't have a lot to say, a lot of things to do, especially with Impulse's ult being down from the attempted burst of Burst Phantom at the beginning of the fight. In a very strange fight, Dragon ends up being secured there by Dryads, and now things are starting to look up for the composition that honestly I thought was supposed to be the earlier game composition.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see all of that come through because the Zed was just burst down very quickly out of that fight. The Nautilus wasn't really able to get as much utility as I think we expected, but overall, we just see this gold lead creeping back towards Dryad's favor, and honestly, their late game looks a little bit safer, all things considered. You have that Zonya's now complete on the Syndra. The Lucian is building towards that Essence Reaver, albeit still rather far behind this Yone. And the Vi is going to be able to lock someone down for so long. If they can get on top of the Zed, it's going to be difficult for Bio to be able to burst either the Lucian or the Soraka or the Syndra out.
Just strange fights here as an eye and trying to make a little bit of a pick. Bad with a P, able to get the hook onto Burst Phantom, who's going to do his best to stay alive. And I getting chunked down, almost goes down to the banana from downtown, very low, but does have that Guardian Angels to prevent himself from actually dying. Almost gets it procced there, but able to survive just by the hair on his chinny chin. Very close call there. I'm thinking Burst with the Burst Phantom is very happy with his purchase of that Styrax, as it definitely keeps him alive there as the all-in attempt comes from Yanni and Bad with a P.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eye on what the next play is, and it looks to be this Baron. It is on vision, though they don't see that control ward the entire team is rotating over. We might have ourselves quite the fight here, Sly.
Yanni coming in, trying to contest, and it looks like Dryad wisely going to back off of this. I'm sure they're trying to figure out how they know that they're on it, but yeah, going to back off, going to be seen by Bad with a P's ward over the wall towards Blue. Blue is going to go over to Tanner, but on the opposite side of the map, meanwhile, Yucca is able to get the wave crashed in and get a little bit of experience, and continuing to grow that experience lead between him and Zombie Man.
We'll have to just keep our eye on what the next sort of play is for the side of Hard Dr. Pepper. They still have that soul point as an option, but they haven't actually touched that top tower at all. And the vision that they've set up is very defensive. They're worried about this side of Dryads being able to find themselves a good opening to take advantage of. So back and forth constantly in this game. It's sort of like wrestling for power. They want to get that upper hand, but they just aren't able to find any decisive fights quite yet. And the more we look at these champions, the more we actually look at this Yone, the more you realize that if he dies, that is a huge gold swing going back over to the side of Dryads, and that may be game defining.
Yeah, and I agree. One thing I want to point out, Artho during that goes over, clears out a little bit of vision, gets some wards down. A minute and a half, 2 minutes is about when you want to be establishing your vision line. This Scuttle Crab, pretty important objective, to be honest. Being able to have that for this next Dragon Skirmish is going to be pretty important. Bad with a P is going to remove the shield on it. And it looks like the entirety of Hard Dr. Pepper is coming down as Burst Phantom is able to secure the crab, and they're going to lose a little bit of that vision, but they should be able to maintain priority in the mid lane as they Yucca a little bit of trouble, has to flash out as he gets kind of caught by Bad with the P and Bios in the bot Tribush, trying to heal up here on this Krogs by taking it and letting Arthur come over and heal him up as well. Guardian accidentally going to be procced there, and Yucca losing flash right before this big fight, probably not the best. Also conceding a lot of control over this bot side river. Not something that you want to see from Dryads, who have been successful in finally winning some of these fights, but also these entrance choke points very dangerous with Impulse's ult being ready for stuns.
Yeah, they're going to have to play this very cautiously. As we said, this is Mountain Soul going, potentially going over to the side of Hard Dr. Pepper, which will mean that all of this burst that this Lucian, this Syndra, and this Aatrox have is going to just be tempered just that little bit. But thus far, positioning advantage is definitely on the side of Hard Dr. Pepper. We'll see if Burst Phantom can find the engage here, but they're going to start this one up.
Bad with a P, just waiting to find this hook. Ooh. Huge knock up there by Yucca as the hook comes out onto Burst Phantom. The Yucca is going to be able to cage some people down. Impulse going in with the stun. Impulse going to be taken down. Pixel Wolf, a knockback by Tanner to try and protect his line, but Yucca. Tanner's going to be able to take Bio. Artho in trouble here over on the side as Impulse is just barely not able to be killed, and Tanner in eye is just going after. The GA ends up being procced, but the nice hook there by Bad with a P, getting Tanner knocked around, and that's going to be a quadra kill for Zombie Man out of nowhere.
It seemed like everyone was getting brought low, but nobody on the side of Hard Dr. Pepper was able to get killed off.
Yeah, there's a great hook at the end from Battle with AWP to find that Syndra in the bush. That's kind of why people get frustrated with Nautilus, the little lollipopping at the end of that dredge line, but they're able to pick up that Mountain Soul, and you can see the gold lead that they have for themselves now. It has gone back up to about 3,000, so feeling a little bit more secure. And of note, Yanni was able to save that shutdown, albeit gave up the Guardian Angel to do so.
Think we take those, right? Guardian Angel already about a fifth of the way through its cooldown. Maybe we'll be up by the time Elder gets rolling. So not the worst whenever you're Hard Dr. Pepper after 2 fights over those dragons that had gone really close or even had, dare I say, lost. Being able to win that one pretty handedly, and also getting Zombie Man much more relevant in this game with that huge quadra kill, which I did not even realize that he was the one picking up all those kills until the announcer popped up to let us know.
Yeah,
Thornmail going to get finished over there on the top side. The Tabby's full armor there for Zombie Man, who's just not going to be concerned with Tanner at all. Going to try and make sure that Tanner is the one who has to kill him, but as long as he keeps stacking armor and what looks like to me like it'll probably be a Warmog's third item, he's going to be pretty beefy, pretty difficult to kill. Nice little frontline member, as well as bad with the P. Getting Thornmail himself with the locket and may end up transitioning those Mobies into Tabbies eventually. It should be very difficult for Tanner the onus should be on Tanner to be killing people, as a lot of armor is going to get stacked up for the side of Hard Dr. Pepper.
It could also be the Anathema's Chains, just to put that onto the only
Right.
magic damage threat on the opposite side. Very good item right now. Good on Tom Kench, but ooh, this is spotted out by the sweeper. But is it enough? Wow, Burst Phantom gets out of there.
Burst Phantom is just playing with fire.
Oh.
Zombie Man, newly acquired gold lead, gonna commit over here onto Tanner, who's doing his best to kite. Zombie Man taking no damage despite having no MR, able to get the knock up, and Tanner is gonna be in trouble, gets eaten up.
Who needs magic resistance anyways?
I guess not. Tanner knock away again. The W coming out, able to dodge that time, and maybe we're gonna see an escape. A little bit of a fiasco there for both Tanner and Zombie. Zombie unable to pick it up, and Tanner doing his best to run away. Burst Phantom is going to get ulted here by Nautilus, the hook, the dredge line, everything coming down. Ult Tibbers is going to do as much as he can. Sterix is going to be able to keep him alive, though, as he gets the ultimate off. And I going into the back line with the ultimate 2-man knockup, able to pick up multiple members. That's going to be 3 down, 4 down. And now Hard Dr. Pepper will be looking to get Baron and do some serious damage to the base of Dryads. I am not sure what Burst Phantom was thinking there, kind of getting caught out without the rest of his team. And in that choke point, it looked like Pixel and Artho were just, and even Yucca, all of them were just doomed and having to deal with Inai, who's able to get a huge knockup onto the backline.
Yeah, they're able to get Baron as well as what could be this mid inhibitor. No one up for another couple of seconds on the side of Dryads. This gold lead has exploded from 3,000 before that fight up to about, oh my goodness, almost 9,000 gold. So Hard Dr. Pepper make the nice split decision to send 2 to that mid lane. They have an open inhibitor now, and Elder Dragon is spawning in 2 minutes. That's going to be a while this side of Hard Dr. Pepper still have that Baron buff. So they're going to be stronger around this objective on top of the fact that they already have a 9,000 gold lead.
Huge fight overall. Good fight selection, right? Picking that choke point to engage in. Burst Phantom. I'm not sure if Flash was up, but definitely if it was, wanted to get out of that, because that is not a fight you want there, as Tanner is getting dumpstered on. Burst Phantom is going to go in on Inai, who's used the Spirit, is probably not going to be able to get away. Camera comes down here to the bot lane as Yucca is going it all in. We're getting both 2 members for 1 member from each side, each of them getting knocked around like a beach ball at a Nickelback concert. Going to be a little bit of a bonus for the side of Dryads, who kill and finally get that bounty that they've been searching for on Inai all game.
All things considered, he dies and he still has a 650 gold bounty. That's how much gold he's had. 4.5 items on that Yone, by the way, to the 2.5 from Pixel Wolf. And you can just see over 100 CS in the lead. 7-1 and 12 has been a part of almost every kill. Bio's on the hunt here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Artho's
Oh,
going to live? What? I didn't expect that. I don't know how that knockup doesn't land. The hook, that was the Nautilus like if I've ever seen one.
that was some
Zombie going in,
BS.
diving into the back line, gonna get the slow over, barely missing, end up landing on Tanner. Burst Phantom trying to do his best to avoid things, serpentine patterns, and the kill going down on Pixel Wolf is going to enable a pretty clear route to Elder Dragon, which may be the doom and demise of this Dryads team, who is going to have a hard time dealing with both the additional damage from Elder and the shielding for the entire team of the Hard Dr. Pepper, who is now stacked in a bush, searching for Burst Phantom as he is looking to go and check. The Hex Flash comes out, Ultimate's coming out, being burned. Burst Phantom doing his best to stay alive. Bios is getting popped. Yucca is getting in a little bit of trouble here, trying to be able to do something, but Yanni able to pick him up. TK going to pick up the kill onto Artho as well. At first, I thought that bush bait may have been a poor play, but it looked like everything works out nicely. The knockup coming out on the Pixel Wolf, though. Barely missing onto the Vi, who ends up being picked up by the Tibbers, and exhaust coming on to Pixel Wolf, and I not able to CC another diving in by Zombie, man. The hook around these walls is just, you talked about the lollipop. I mean, might as well have a lollipoppy in this game, because it's every one of these hooks just looks like it's going whatever that film is from the early mid 2000s where they curve the bullets. That is what Bad
Matrix.
with the P. He must have watched it before the game. What is it? No, not Matrix.
There's the Matrix, and there's that other one that they tested on Mythbusters.
Yeah, it's the one where they curve the bullets.
Yeah,
that's the one I was referencing. Matrix is too, though. You're right.
Regardless, 10,000 gold lead. They get the shutdown, or they get the kill onto this Zed, but they aren't able to shut down or re-shut down that Yone, who now has the Guardian Angel up, and Elder Dragon gonna get taken. I dare say this is looking like curtains almost for the side of Dryads. They're gonna be down 11,000 gold. They have to face this Elder buffed team, 5 members strong, going to be looking to end this one. Their base is open as well with that mid inhibitor, and I just getting to work on that bot side. And this Yone pick, I was a little skeptical of. It's very hard to execute melee bot lanes, but here, obviously, just knowing the matchup well enough to take advantage of Pixel Wolf and Artho down here, and with the Soraka not opting into all of that bonus healing that you can get on the Soraka with the likes of a Moonstone, Staff of Flowing Water, Redemption, all of those items, means that her heals aren't as effective. And when Yone's on top of you now with a Bloodthirster, you're probably going to die.
Absolutely. I started to touch on this, and then we had like a billion fights break out, Adam. But when you have a pick like Lucian, right, you have somebody who's very aggressive, a lot of kill potential, very short range, really wants to be fighting constantly in the lane and controlling and contesting any sort of touching of the minions by your opponent. Soraka doesn't really enable that, right? You're not able to really provide a whole lot for Lucian in the lane as far as fighting is concerned. You scale well on Soraka, probably one of the best scaling supports in the game, but really weren't able to apply the amount of pressure that you would like to see onto Yanni on this melee auto ADC. Hookah is going to come out here onto Burst Phantom. The Silence Field's coming out, Ultimate's coming down, Assault and Battery, but going to get eaten up by Zombie Man. I don't think that Burst Phantom's going to be able to get away despite many shields. I don't know what happened to Artho. Artho looks like the Joker appeared and made him disappear like a pencil, and then huge knockup here onto Yucca and Tanner, who are going to be bursted down each individually, and that is game. Absolutely. The Elder buff playing a huge role there in those final couple of moments, and I trying to make sure that the game doesn't end without a couple more kills. Pixel is going to do a nice job of dodging the ultimates, and this is going to be all she wrote for Dryads as Hard Dr. Pepper pick up this first game. So really great way to close out the game, despite a little bit of hiccups there in the middle of the game by Hard Dr. Pepper. They're able to finish things up, clean things up nicely, and so we'll now take a short break as we head into Game 2. We'll get the lobby set up, and we'll be back with you shortly. Stay tuned, Black Twitch League. We'll be right back.